I want to start with a guy that you, even when things have been bad, it felt like, especially the first half of the season in 2021, you really had his back. And of course, it's been easy to defend Fletcher Cox over the last 11 years. He's been one of the best defensive tackles in the league. It's always been Aaron Donald and then Fletcher, right? But I feel like this year, after he was released and then brought back and everything was restructured, he's on a 1-year deal now worth, $14 million. I think 11 of it is guaranteed. It seemed like kind of like the Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert thing, especially when they drafted Jordan Davis, that the writing was on the wall that Fletcher was going to be gone after this year. But then, he was at his press conference today and you started listening about, how much none of that really affected him. He didn't take any of it to offense, drafting Davis and, the Eagles showing we didn't really want him on that contract anymore. We wanted him on a shorter term deal. He took it all in stride and talked about wanting to be a leader for Davis and buying into Jonathan Gannon's defense, which was not the case to start the season last year. And it got me rethinking. I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, is this as obvious of a decision as Ertz versus Goddard was when it comes to Cox versus not Jordan Davis, but Javon Hargrave, who's going to need a new deal at the end of the year? I'm not so sure, man. This is, I think, a tougher discussion going back and forth.
It definitely is. I think there's a lot of different elements when you look at play style, when you look at what they're going to garner when it comes to a contract.
Yeah.
Both of them are in their 30s. Javon Hargrave is a little bit younger by 2 to 3 years below Fletcher Cox. But the thing about Fletcher is he's been here forever. And I believe he'll inevitably retire a Philadelphia Eagle. Past this year, we don't know. He talked about it today in his press conference as well, that he's been taking it year by year. The one area that today really confirmed my love and affinity for number 91 and everything that he's done in Philadelphia was how open and honest he was with what his role was when it came to mentoring these younger guys. Because you hear guys like Ryan Tannehill around the NFL say, it's not my job to take Malik Willis under my wing and get him ready to take my job, essentially. Fletcher Cox doesn't care. He said today that he thrives on not just teaching them, but learning from Jordan Davis as well. They're two individuals that play similar positions, but completely different mindsets. The way that
different styles, 100%.
Jordan Davis played in college, which he'll play some in the NFL, but they'll also ask him to get to the quarterback. But he played more, I'm going to hold my ground, see two gaps, lean either way of the center, and plug against the run and open it up for the rest of the guys. Fletcher Cox, and why he voiced his displeasure last year for Jonathan Gannon's scheme, was because he was asked to do that,
what Jordan Davis is going to do, right?
Which he doesn't do.
Sure.
He's a 1.5 gap, get up the field while squeezing down the pocket to get to the quarterback type of player. And that's why the conversation leads to Fletcher Cox versus Javon Hargrave.
By the way, only a 2-year difference, man. Like,
absolutely.
Fletcher Cox is 31. Like, he's getting up there in age. He's in year 11. But Javon Hargrave, I know he's coming off a career year with 7.5 sacks, but he's 29 years old. And Gino, 6 of those sacks came in the first month of the season. We got to remember, Hargrave was dominant. And of course, you can justify some of those numbers going down because of the increase in double teams, which maybe freed some things up for Fletcher Cox. But let's be honest, it was the tale of two halves for both of these guys. Fletcher Cox started off really slow, and he, to me, was the better defensive tackle the second half of the year. During that playoff run where they won 4 straight and they improved into the wild card round, Fletcher Cox was on a tear. And you look at his numbers last year, like, only 3.5 sacks, but his quarterback hits, his forced fumbles, tackles for loss, most of his numbers were around the average of his career. So it's not like there was this massive drop-off. And you combine the maybe cheaper price for Cox, the fact that I think, of course, like you said, Jordan Davis is going to emerge as a core piece of this defense, and the development of Milton Williams down the stretch last year too might make you think, if we can get Cox cheaper, because he is 2 years older and because he loves the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a big reason that, Gino, he didn't have a Ryan Tannehill-like reaction, like Zach Ertz last year. These guys love being an Eagle. Brandon Graham, too.
Exactly.
Maybe that's an idea to explore. It's not as obvious as Ertz and Goddard. There was a similar conversation last year that's like, do you want to go cheaper with Ertz and trade Goddard away and kind of go in that direction? But there was a clear difference and a clear style difference as well. You got more with Goddard, run after the catch down the field. With Cox and Hargrave, like, how much more are you getting for Hargrave versus Cox, like, is the talent gap so wide compared to what the price would be? It's something to consider.
Is $5 to $8 million, which realistically could be a price difference, because Javon will be 30 years old when he's going to get.
Is he
a
that
contract.
much better than Fletcher?
I think a team would be willing to pay him that. If you look at guys that aren't even as good as him, look at a player like Jordan Phillips, for example. When he left Buffalo, he quote unquote said he was a top 3 defensive tackle in football. Clearly he wasn't, but he still got north of $15 million. Right. Javon Hargrave probably could get that from a team that is contending for a Super Bowl. I don't know if it'll be Philadelphia. I think if the price difference is 5 to 8, or let's say it's even a little less than that, let's say 4 to 6, do you keep Fletcher Cox here on what most likely would be a 1-year deal as opposed to a 2 to 3 year deal for Javon Hargrave? I think Fletcher will continue to do this 1 year over 1 year type
which
thing.
is good as you see what Jordan Davis and Milton Williams do. You know, you don't want to lock
when it comes to
guy.
Fletcher Cox's leverage. Absolutely. He should continue to do that, because you don't want to be in a situation where it is a 2-year deal. They backload it and it's a snap of the fingers. We're going to have to cut you no matter what. You want
for the Eagles too. Like, you don't want to lock into Hargrave if you think that Davis and Williams are going to project to be your future, top 2. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, Gino, maybe neither come back after 2022, because
it could be an option for sure.
Williams, Gino, I don't think people are talking about it enough. He looked really good down the stretch last year. He's a defensive tackle that, grades in the 99th percentile when it comes to athleticism. He's a pass rusher that can play on the outside too. It's defensive tackle. It's deep right now. To me, it's the best group of 4 in the NFL. And I think that they have a decision, though, to make about it for the future.
I think Fletcher Cox also made a great point about saying that he knows that he's going to be a rotational type player. Not everybody that comes to Philadelphia is okay with just being a guy that might play 40% of the snaps on the defensive line. Fletcher Cox gets that, and he understands that the guy that comes in next to him or after him has to be just as good. And he mentioned that the guys behind him, he has trust in as well to play up to that standard. So set that standard for a young player like Milton Williams, mold him, and Jordan Davis can be that unicorn in the middle. You're really trying to replace who's going to be that next 3-tech penetrating defensive tackle that gets after the quarterback. That's Milton Williams. Are you going to keep 3 guys who are all play the same position, all play relatively similarly? We'll wait to see what Jonathan Gannon does in terms of deploying these guys.
Right, because there's no Davis replacement, in the rotation, right? I mean,
absolutely not.
Cox,
Marlon Tuipulotu probably, but I mean, much lesser extent.
But it's a good point. It's like that other spot, you're kind of deciding between Cox and Hargrave who to keep, or if you believe in Milton Williams enough to let both walk. Fascinated, but I think it's definitely more of a discussion than, again, compared to like Ertz and Goddard last year. I don't know. Everybody feels like it seems inevitable that Cox is gone next year. I'm not so sure, especially hearing his mindset. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, you can find our full episodes right here on Locked On Eagles. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find exclusive short videos just like this one on our YouTube channel and on all podcast platforms. As always, thank you for watching, and let's go Birds.